Hello there, it's Jeff Diamond welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe video, a live video, in fact. I mean, honestly, you think that I don't do Sports Catastrophe live videos? Well, you're right in a sense, because most of it is basically through a script and basically me rifling off some stuff. But anyway, it is May the 15th, 2021, and it is the first round of the NHL playoffs starting out. And no, it's not like last year in which we had play-in series and all that. But yeah, 16 teams are in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Funny thing is that every team that made the playoffs this year actually were either could have been in the playoffs if there was a 16-team format last year, which got ruined because of COVID, or basically qualified because of the 24-team format, top 12 in each conference and all that. So anyway, I'm going to go through the 4 divisions and basically the playoff matchups in that one. Now, the NHL had to make some changes to the playoff format, mostly due to the fact that Canada and the United States have a border control shutdown and all that. So basically, Canada couldn't send their teams to the U.S. to play in the NHL and vice versa. So basically, all the Canadian teams, all 7 of us, were basically bunched into one division to play each other. And through 56 games. A couple of teams, like the Leafs, my team, but we had to face Montreal and Winnipeg 10 times, and the other 4 teams 9 times. So anyway, yeah, that's huge. But anyway, the NHL made 3 18 divisions for the American teams, and basically all they have to do is face each other 8 times. 7 times 8 is 56. Easy numbers. So anyway, and then they did it through the old adage of the 82 to 93 playoffs, that basically you play within your division, and then basically the 2 division winners in the conference would face each other for the title and all that. Now, of course, there's no conferences in perpetuity because of the COVID problems. So what they're doing is that based on regular season points, the top 4 teams will be reseeded. So one will face 4 and 2 versus 3. Now, here's the thing. Canada is insured 1 Stanley Cup semifinalist in the tournament. Now, the problem is that we don't know much right now. The NHL is asking if Canadian teams can host the conference finals or the final or the semifinals, if you will. Now, if that doesn't happen, then the Canadian team, whoever that is, will play against one of the American teams. But they'll play in a neutral site in the United States. Like basically, it won't be at all the games at one arena. Now, based on regular season points, Colorado, what's my head? Colorado, Carolina, Toronto, and Pittsburgh are the 4 winners of the divisions. So based on points, Colorado would face Pittsburgh, and Toronto would face Carolina. So if that happened, Toronto would have to play Carolina exclusively in the United States, but the Leafs would have to, the Leafs and Hurricanes would play in a neutral site for Leaf home games and all that. They'll probably go to Tampa, because that's where the Raptors are. But the Tampa Bay Lightning are still in the playoffs, so you don't know. So anyway, I'll go through all 8 playoff matchups and give you the predictions via that. Of course, on Facebook, you'll see the video link and all that. I know I usually do the text form and all that, but basically I wanted to do a video form and try to get Cutter Historical up there. So here we go. These matchups I'm reading from Sports Encyclopedia, sportsencyclopedia.com. So anyway, the Penguins would take on the New York Islanders. The Tank has Penguins in 6. Here's what I think. So the New York Islanders are the 4 seed, and Pittsburgh's the 1 seed in the East. Pittsburgh has been doing pretty well, despite the fact that they got rid of Matt Murray to Ottawa. It was like, how the hell is Pittsburgh going to do well with goaltending? But Tristan Jarry has actually picked up a lot of things going on. And the fact of the matter is that, surprisingly, I didn't know this, but Pittsburgh doesn't really have Geno Malkin. They've missed him for a lot of the season. But with him coming back healthy, Crosby and Letang as well, the Penguins have very few weaknesses. The others have good defense with Varlamov and net, especially against the Rangers. But basically, the Penguins have the playoff experience and all that. So my pick, Penguins, obviously. I say 5. I don't give the Islanders much hope. Now the other series, that the one that starts today, is Washington versus Boston, and they have and Frank the Tank says Washington in 7. In Fury, it's a tough pick. I mean, after all, Washington has Zdeno Chara, who was a Boston Bruin mainstay for many years. So yeah, the Bruins have had troubles with secondary scoring, but thanks to a trade with the Buffalo Sabres at the deadline, they got Taylor Hall, who's actually been lighting it up. Hopefully, Taylor Hall can do well in the playoffs too. But the Caps have Ovechkin, obviously. So anyway, yeah, goaltending. I think Boston's got a bit of a goaltending edge. I mean, they have the two-headed thing of no wait, Tuukka Rask isn't playing this year. I think he opted out or something. But I would say the two-tier thing of the tier monster of Halak and Rask. But Boston seems to have a goaltender who's actually decent and all that. I'm going to go against the flow and say Boston in 7. Boston always does well in the playoffs, defying expectations and all that. I know Washington's good, but they are a few pieces short. And Boston's got Taylor Hall. So anyway, let's go to the South. Or not the South. What did they call it? They call it the Central? No, not the Central. Whatever. Division number 2. Carolina would face Nashville. Carolina, by Frank the Tank Sting, says Canes in 5. I'm going to tend to agree on that because Nashville seems a little slow and all that. And Carolina actually came running out of nowhere last year in the playoffs and all that. So anyway, yeah, when you look at the what he put his blurb, he actually put in the wrong blurb. But anyway, yeah, Nashville seems to be okay and all that. But their goaltending is a little bit suspect. Carolina has had two-headed goaltender monster too, with Mrazek and Nevelovsky. I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but at least they don't have David Ayers. But anyway, yeah, Carolina looks good. And I think Carolina could run away with this against Nashville. Now you got Tampa and Florida playing each other. The Lightning and the Panthers. The Battle of Florida. This is amazing. You know, you got Tampa, you got two Florida-based teams facing each other in the playoffs, in the NHL, which never happened. Usually they don't even go to the playoffs in the same year. I know they did in 96, when Tampa almost shocked the world by taking out the number 1 seed Philadelphia Flyers in the first round. But Florida helped their state brethren by doing that in the second round in 96. But anyway, Florida is a good team. Now, contrary to popular belief, Florida is the team with the longest playoff series drought by years, not Toronto. Florida has not won a playoff series since 1996, the year of their Stanley Cup run, which Colorado snapped off in 4 games. The Panthers have some good offense and all that. Sergei Bobrovsky's actually pulled off some great net moments. You know, Florida's a young team. But Tampa is the defending champions, and basically you can't beat that. Basically, they have Vasilevsky. Kucherov is back after an injury. They have poise and all that. So this is a tight matchup. Tampa somehow has the 4th best odds to win the cup going into the playoffs, even though they're a 3 seed. Basically, Vasilevsky will outdo Bobrovsky. It'll be basically the offenses. So now let's go to the West. I guess that was Central, yeah. To the West. It's Avalanche versus Blues. And Tank says Avalanche in 6. Well, I say Tampa in 6. I would go with Colorado in 7. Now, here's why. St. Louis has pulled off rabbits in their hat. 2 years ago, remember their cup run that I kept picking against them and I kept getting bit? Well, St. Louis is not surprising, but St. Louis has pulled off a few key wins, and Colorado made it happen. Colorado is the President's Trophy winners, basically the team with the best regular season record in the NHL. And that's usually the kiss of death. But even though the Avalanche, this is their third President's Trophy. The last time they got the President's Trophy was 20 years ago when they won the Stanley Cup with people like Bork, Drury, Dingman, Hainaut, Waugh, Blake. Did I say Bork? Sakic, and Hayduk. So basically, Colorado won the Stanley Cup as President's Trophy winners the last time. So they don't care about the jinx and all that. I think Colorado will win this one, this series. Although it's going to be tight to see if Colorado and Vegas meet each other in the second round, in the division finals. So basically, Colorado might have St. Louis's goat and all that. I mean, Colorado's a young team. They got Nathan McKinnon. They still have Landeskog, I think. Yes, they do have Landeskog. I kept thinking he was traded away, but no. That's someone else. Anyway. Vegas, Minnesota. Now, he says Vegas in 7. I'm going to say Vegas in 6. Minnesota seems to be okay, but I think that Vegas has got something together. And besides, the NHL wants to see a Colorado-Vegas division final, which would be one of the best quarterfinal matchups in recent memory. The Golden Knights have improved their team. They have a good GM in Kelly McCrimmon. Their head coach, who I forgot who the head coach is Pete DeBoer. Kitchener! Sorry. Force of habit when I say something about a former Kitchener Ranger player or coach. Although I shouldn't have yelled it after Landeskog. But anyway. So Pete DeBoer's the coach. Well, you think that's going to sway my vote because, former Kitchener Ranger coach. But I've been burned by DeBoer. Now, the Golden Knights are basically pretty good. Their goaltending is good. Robin Lerner and Marc-Andre Fleury is a great two-headed monster. I mean, Lerner's done pretty well. Now, Minnesota has shockingly made the playoffs. With the prowess of Cam Talbot in net, Ranger fans will be upset with that, and rookie Kirill Kaprizov, who basically has ignited Minnesota through. And he's the favorite to win the Calder, which he probably will. But, Minnesota can't rely too much on Kirill because basically you put everything on a rookie's shoulders, he might crumble. All that. But I think Vegas will win. Now, I obviously know the North Division matchups because, being from Canada, I know. So let's go with Edmonton, Winnipeg. I'm not looking at Frank the Tank's blurbs and until later. But basically, Edmonton and Winnipeg are facing each other off. They're no strangers in Fury. Edmonton, when the Winnipeg Jets were the Winnipeg Jets and not the Phoenix Coyotes or whatever they want to call themselves now, they would have some tight matchups. Winnipeg only won 2 playoff series in the city of Winnipeg, but they both times they lost to Edmonton in the next round. Edmonton in 1990, and I did this for Sports Catastrophe on this day about Peter Clement. I mentioned about the Jets taking a 3-1 series lead on Edmonton. But Edmonton came back to win 3 straight. It was like, what the fuck? But, Messier's playoff stuff and all that. These are eternal rivals. I keep thinking, was it Winnipeg versus Edmonton in an outdoor game a couple years ago? I think it was, yeah. So, yeah, it was nice to see that. And then, these teams are great. And it'll be good for Western Canada. This is the Western Canada series. Basically, there's a team from Western Canada will face a team from Eastern Canada in the North Division final, no matter what. Winnipeg has actually slumped a little bit. Yeah, they beat the Leafs last night, but the Leafs were not really playing for anything except for pride. Connor Hellebuyck will be basically the only reason why Winnipeg does well in this series. But he's been struggling lately. I say Edmonton in 6. I'll give Winnipeg a bit of a break and all that, but yeah. And the other matchup is, of course, my boys, Toronto, against the hatred of the Montreal Canadiens. You don't know how much I hate the Montreal Canadiens. Ironically, I hate the Canadiens less than the Ottawa Senators. Well, it's obvious because Ottawa is a team in the province of Ontario. And when your own freaking brother, who you look up to, openly cheers for Ottawa against Toronto, that pisses you right off. I know I have other Ottawa Senator fans, but basically they don't piss me off more than my brother does. So, anyway. So, Montreal's a good team. Unfortunately, they seem to be the weakest team in the NHL and all that. Just making the playoffs because Vancouver had their COVID problems and had to play too many games in too many days and couldn't make up the difference. Calgary slumped, even though Daryl Sutter came back to the team. And Ottawa was in a rebuilding phase. The worst part for Ottawa, and I will be honest with you, I'm going to say something nice about the Senators for a change, is that they went on this massive run in the final 10 to 15 games. If they had done that in the whole 56 game thing, Ottawa would have surprised everyone and got to the playoffs. Maybe we'll see Leafs Senators. I would have probably given Leafs a 7-game series because Ottawa's young, feisty, and have given Toronto headaches this year. Montreal's got problems. If Carey Price is healthy, he'll help Montreal out. Otherwise, there's Jake Allen, and he's not really that great and all that. Montreal's got some good scoring. Hey, Cole Caulfield has come up to the big boys and have done pretty well. But, of course, I got to go with the Leafs. Now, I know in years past, and people will call me out on this, I've picked the Leafs to lose. But that's because, Boston always seems to get our goat. And Washington, everyone says, you expect Washington to beat the tar out of Toronto in 5 games? I said, yeah, but I don't predict the scores. I don't say the games are going to be one-sided. I'm just saying who's going to win. You have to take overtime into account, people. So, yeah, obviously I'm going to pick the Leafs. How many games? I'm going to say 6. I'm going to be fair. I mean, Montreal might pull a few out of the hat, but I know Toronto, it's got Montreal's goat. 7 wins against Montreal in 10 games. The Leafs had not beaten Montreal 5 or more times in the regular season since 1967, which is a weird fact. Now, of course, the Leafs and Habs usually don't face each other 5 times a year nowadays, because nowadays, thanks to the NHL making their stupid divisional stuff, all that crap. So anyway, I say Leafs. Now, there are some stats from Wikipedia about the Stanley Cup playoffs that I might share. So Pittsburgh is now in the postseason for the 15th straight season, which is the longest active streak. I would believe that. And for the 2nd year in a row, every team in California missed the playoffs. Anaheim, LA, and San Jose. So we got the playoff bracket. Carolina against Nashville. Carolina won 6 out of the 8 games in the regular season against Nashville. So they seem to be good. First time Carolina and Nashville meet in the playoffs. Florida versus Tampa, the first time they meet. Florida actually won 5 out of 8 against Tampa in the regular season, but that doesn't mean a lot. In fact, 2 Florida professional sports teams meeting each other, that rarely happens. And it happened in 1999 when the Jacksonville Jaguars took on the Miami Dolphins in the playoffs, in the divisional round. Final score, 62-7. I kid you not. People are like, what the fuck? Oh, I'm not joking. Pittsburgh and the Islanders, Pittsburgh and the Islanders have met in 5 series, with the Islanders winning 4 of the 5 series, including a sweep by the Islanders, a shocking sweep in the first round of the 2019 Eastern playoffs. I picked Pittsburgh to crush the Islanders. Pittsburgh's won 6 out of 8 against the Islanders, so basically, there's no way they're going to lose. Now, the Islanders, Pittsburgh, let me think if I can remember the playoff series with each other. I know 1982, was it? The Islanders were on a roll, and Pittsburgh almost took them out in the first round, if memory serves me right. Let's see here. 82. I know for sure 1993, because that was when the Islanders shocked the Penguins, who were a runaway train trying to get to the 3rd Stanley Cup championship in a row. 2013, was it? I think it was 2013 that Penguins and Islanders met in the first round. 1 year, and the Penguins crushed them in the fine powder. And then, of course, you got the sweep in 2019. There had to be one other one. I think it was 1981. I don't remember. But anyhow, yeah. Washington, Boston, they've met 4 times in the playoffs, with Washington going 2 out of 3. They last met in the 2012 quarterfinals, which Washington won. The first time in Stanley Cup history that all 7 games were decided by 1 goal. Oh yeah, that was the series that Joe Ward scored the overtime goal in Game 7 against Boston and Tim Thomas. And basically, Joe Ward got a lot of hate by Boston fans, calling him the N-word and all that shit. So I remember I think the only series Boston's taken down Washington was 1990 because that was the conference final. I don't know which one. What was the other one? I don't remember the second time that they met. Anyhow, so yeah, so in the regular season, they both won 4 games against each other. Leafs and Habs, well, Habs didn't really do well. This is the 16th time that Montreal and Toronto met in the playoffs. Montreal has the lead, narrowly 8-7. And the last time they met was 1979, which the Habs won in the quarterfinals in a sweep. Toronto won 7 out of 10 in the regular season. Yeah. You all know that. But anyway, it was like, what the heck? Montreal didn't really do that well. 59 points. That's not good. So yeah, but here's the funny thing. CBC said that every time Montreal and Toronto meet in the playoffs, whoever wins the Stanley Cup. Granted, a lot of them were in the Stanley Cup finals, but not Stanley Cup finals matchups, that team goes on to win the Stanley Cup. So that basically might be an omen for the Leafs. Edmonton versus Winnipeg basically happened. This is the first playoff meeting between the Oilers and Jets. Well, the Jets that were the Thrashers / Jets, not the Jets / Coyotes. Edmonton won 7 out of 9 in the regular season. So yeah, so Edmonton looks sharp on that. In the West, they said, Colorado won the President's Trophies. This is only the second playoff series between the Blues and Avalanche in history. And when did you know it? In 2001, when I talked about Colorado and the President's Cup, President's Trophy, I don't want to call it the President's Cup. That's the golf one. But anyway, 2001 conference final. That's when Colorado took care of St. Louis on a Joe Sakic overtime goal in Game 5. That got them to the Stanley Cup final in the first place. Colorado won 5 out of 8 games in the regular season. Vegas and Minnesota. Minnesota shockingly won 5 out of 8 in the regular season against the Golden Knights. Anyway, Vegas finished second in the West. We got Minnesota, first playoff meeting between these two teams. So yeah, so some nice stuff. Okay, so let me see his blurb. Leafs in 4 and Oilers in 6. Leafs in 4, my ass. I mean, not even I would say. I say Leafs in 6. He says it's McDavid versus Hellebuck. Basically, yeah, that's true. I mean, McDavid is in another world right now. The Jets have struggled and all that. They need goaltending help. And then basically the Leafs. This is most anticipated first-round series in years. And the Leafs have not won a Stanley Cup playoff round since 2004. 17 years is a long time. They've struggled for decades. And they lost in the first round 3 straight years in Game 7. Well, winner-take-all games. And he says something feels different about the Leafs with Matthews and Marner, but it's Jack Campbell. It's like, holy smokes. Normally, the Habs are a popular upset pick because when anything's possible when you have Price in net. But Price is older and doesn't have the same ability. Matthews keeps scoring and all that. And the Habs do score with Toffoli. And basically, as long as Carey Price gets on fire, there might be some problems. But he hasn't. Well, he's been injured. So, yeah. That's a tight one. I get his honesty. But, yeah, so it's going to be... So my picks are going to be Leafs versus Oilers in the North Final. The Central will have Tampa versus Carolina. The East will have Boston versus Pittsburgh. And the West will have Vegas, Colorado, which basically everyone will tune in because a lot of people said that's going to be the series that will determine who wins the Stanley Cup. None of the other 3 divisions have anything to say about it. Basically, Vegas and Colorado might have that target on their back. So anyway, thanks for watching this thing with me. I know it's long-winded, but you know what? You got great predictions, great stats, great stuff. And subscribe to Cutter Historical. Don't click on the button below because I don't have the technology that shows the subscribe button below. So anyway, that's just me. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.